Hello everyone, and welcome to the video walkthrough guide for the Nature of Progress, the Dxun Operations second boss fight. It's really an ad encounter called the Holding Pens. So we're going to walk through this fight and hopefully explain everything you need to know to make it through this fight. In story mode, it's a fairly easy fight in story mode, as we'll talk through. A bit of fun. We'll talk through some of the mechanics. The key to being successful in this fight really is to stay together as a group. Which we'll talk through. When people run around and you get spread out, bad things can happen. But it's a fun fight. It's a good opportunity also, I think, to practice mechanics. For hard mode, where this fight is also relatively easy, but quite a bit more punishing potentially. Okay, so let's get into it. So here's the entrance to the loading area. So we open the door to enter the building. We go in through here, click the button on the right, which teleports us in. This is also the way we'll access the starting point for the next encounter. So here's the kind of the loading area. You can see here in the crate there are flares. There should be 8 of them. Each flare, when used, puts a blue circle on the ground that will basically keep the ads from dealing a lot of damage. It inhibits them using their more dangerous abilities. So pretty much any time you're in a flare and ads are in there, they're going to be doing a lot less damage, which a few phases of this fight's really important. And here on that little table, clickable items there, those are the stems. So here I pick up 1. And the stems give you, using a 1 gives you basically a hold the line or hydraulic override speed buff. If you click them twice, they'll give you a benefit where you get 100% critical chance, 100% defense chance. So generally you want DPS to pick those up. They can use them as effectively. They double click to get an adrenal for this fight. Tanks can use it as defensive cooldown, or healers can use it as a cooldown as well. Okay, so here's a view of that same area from a map perspective in terms of what your mini-map and map will show. So again, flares by the door, stems just around the corner. Somewhere in here there's also typically going to be one of the codex entry items if you can find it. This is where you load in here and you explain the fight, make sure everyone knows what the plan is, and then you proceed. Alright, so here is the minimap view of the holding pens area with a little bit of a walkthrough path showing the route we're going to go, because this can seem a little confusing your first time or first couple times going through it. Our overall goal is to get from the entryway into the generator station at the far end of the holding pens. But since the main path is blocked, we're going to have to cut through the holding pens and deal with a lot of ads, which is the fight. So waves of ads will spawn as you move through the holding pens, but there really only are a handful of kind of key locations where otherwise you're kind of going to be just moving. Whenever there are ads, you'll want to stop, kill them really quickly, and then keep moving. But these are the spots where you'll stop for more than 10 or 15 seconds. It might be 30 seconds to 45 seconds. So we'll walk through these live here shortly. But you'll see the first stop is going to be as you cut through the first set of holding pens, there'll be a rampaging charger, and then you keep moving through the pens, and then two spots over there's another rampaging charger, and then there's going to be the first warden droid, which we'll talk about, and then you go through the doors. There's another set of ads that you can skip or you can kill depending on your group composition. And then you keep going through the holding pens, and then there's another warden droid encounter. And then at that point, we can make our way into the generator station, where there's a little bit of stuff to do to both open the doors and then lock the doors to protect us from all these rampaging ads. So hopefully this is helpful. This will make more sense as we walk through it, but I think the visual is fairly helpful to kind of visualize what we're doing and where we're going. Okay, so now let's get to the action. So the first thing to note is it's not uncommon for ops leaders that have run this a lot in hard mode to tell you that you got to go really quickly, because that is definitely the case in hard mode. In story mode, you can go slow. Now, the first thing to note is make sure everyone's got a stem and a flare. Stem, as you see on the temporary bar on my screen, is the kind of adrenal-looking item on the left. Flares are the one on the right. Again, tanks and designated players should have flares. I'm a DPS here, but I'm picking up a flare to help. DPS should get stems. The flares are in that crate just by the doorway there on my right. The stems are just inside the building there. Okay, so as soon as we pull, we're going to have some trash waves. Again, the key is you don't have to go fast. Stay together. Stay together so tanks can wrangle the ads, healers can heal people, and all the DPS are there. Now, a couple things to note about the little ads, as we'll see here in a moment. The first one we're going to see are the crawlers, and they are pretty easy to deal with. The Crimson Stalkers here, you may have seen those on your way to the red encounter. The main thing to note, these purple, pink puddles, they do damage, and they put a debuff on you that inhibits your damage, your tanking, your healing. So you want to stay out of those, otherwise you can take a lot of damage, as you saw a couple of us that were standing in it. But otherwise we're just going to move. Anytime there are ads, you can stop, stay together, nuke them down. You do not need to move quickly. The ads in story mode really don't spawn based on a timer. They spawn based on positioning. So you can take your time and you won't necessarily see any more ads, as opposed to hard mode where ads will keep coming. Okay, so now we're to that first stop at the Rampaging Charger. This guy does damage and has a knockback. This is a good time to use a flare. You'll see here the blue circle around us. These are really, really helpful. Any ads that are inside those flares will do less damage, and most of them that have special abilities won't use them. So for the most part, if you have issues with the big ads, it's a good time to use a flare. Or if you start to get overwhelmed with the little ads, you can drop a flare as well. So again, at the first charger, we're just going to kill the charger, kill any other ads that are around, and then we're going to keep moving here. So there, we finished the last one, and off we go. Now we're going to move through the pens here and cut through a path that's open. And watch out for fire. That'll do damage, as you might expect. Again, I'm a little bit ahead of the group here, but we want to stay together. So if it's not a big deal to stop here and kill those ads. The shrieks are a little bit annoying. They're much more dangerous in hard mode, but otherwise you can just kill them. All of the ads that spawn are generally going to be incendiary shrieks, or the Crimson Stalkers we saw. Now once we go through the next broken fence, we're going to have another Rampaging Charger. Same deal as before. It's a good time. Once you know where you're going to get in position, you see here me dropping that flare early, and the tank grabs the charger. Generally you want to put your back to a tree, or preferably even your back to the fence. That way you don't get punted out of the flare. But otherwise everyone's just going to nuke the charger. Typically have some ads spawn around now, so you can kill them, or you can just keep moving. These ads aren't too dangerous. It's also worth noting that in Dxun, most of the fights are substantially easier in 16-man, because I guess the way the ads are balanced. So it's really trivial in 16-man. It's fairly easy in 8-man, but it does take a little more time, so it's a little more likely to stop in 8-man. So here's the Warden Droid. You'll notice there's an energy beam connecting him to that panel on the right. We can't open the door till we kill the Warden Droid. So we kill the Warden Droid. Ads may come in. This group in this video is really high DPS. Now here's a little bit of a tricky part. As soon as we open this door, there's going to be some ads. Now if you're quick, you can run by them and skip them, because they'll once they kill each other and finish fighting, they'll de-aggro, because you won't have gained any aggro because no one hit them and no one did any healing. You just run by them. If you're not sure you can do that, just drop a flare and kill them. There's the Rampaging Charger, and the more dangerous one is the Fellshod Reaper, the one that's kind of glowing red that's marked with flame. Anytime that ad is up, you always want to prioritize it. It does way more damage than the Charger. So throw a flare, maybe throw a second one if you need it, nuke the ads, and keep going. Alternatively, if you hug the wall, it's left from my current viewpoint, but going through the door it'd be on your right, and you hug that right wall and just go around them, especially if you have a Sentinel's Transcendence or Marauder's Predate, or any of a number of other class speed disciplines can all be helpful. But again, it's not a big deal in story mode. The key is to put a flare, because that makes the Fellshod Reaper a lot less dangerous. So we kill some ads, we keep moving. Not a big deal. There's no more big ads until we get to the second Warden Droid. So we're just going to keep moving. Again, the Warden Droids aren't particularly dangerous. You can drop a flare on them if you feel you need to, but you don't really have to. They're not too dangerous. Another thing to note, just for your information, is there are some codex items, little books. So there was one in the entryway where we started. There's another one there in that pathway to the left of the Warden Droid that if you're going to get, you have to get now. So if you have time, you can send someone off there to go find it while you finish the group. There's also a third one in the generator station. But anyway, we're just going to kill the Warden Droid here. We're going to kill ads. I like to put a flare down so that everyone can kind of ignore the ads and focus down the Warden Droid. And again, that one was locking out that doorway over there. So as soon as we finish the ads, if you're in trouble or you're trying to do it really quickly, which you can do, then you'd go click this as soon as the Warden Droid died. So you can see there, a couple of our folks initially thought we were going to go get it. So if you go through this area, somewhere randomly in there is going to be another codex item, which is a good idea to grab. And so we're waiting here, we're holding while the rest of the group is going to go find it. So they went and clicked it for everybody, and now everyone's coming back, and now we're going to keep going. So again, you don't need to do this. You can just click the button and just run on in, as you'll see us do in a moment. But if you want to get that achievement for the 6 codex entries, that the one in this corner, this is your only real opportunity to get it. So now's the best time. So anyway, once you're ready to move on, you go click the button to open the pathway into the generator station. Now it's a good idea to select in advance who's going to be handling this responsibility, because you're going to want most of your group to hang out at the doorway, as we'll see, while the one person goes in to click. If you're at all apprehensive about this encounter, it's probably best to have the DPS do it. That way tanks can concentrate on holding aggro, and healers can heal the tanks and DPS that are taking damage. So just going to click the button to open the doorway into the generator station, and then you come on in here. Now at this point, one person's going to go click some buttons, which I'll show you how to do here in just a moment, while everybody else should hang out here in the entryway. Ads are going to keep coming, so you just want to grab them, group them up. You can throw a flare if damage is becoming a problem, and just AoE them down. The only real thing that's dangerous here in story mode is the pink puddles that the Crimson Stalkers drop. If you stand in those, it'll be a lot tougher to avoid taking a lot of damage. And that's really it. So you're going to see here in a moment, from the perspective of everybody else, we're just doing some damage, and then all the ads are going to die, and then we're done with the encounter. Okay, so here is another kill video from the perspective of a DPS, who's going to be the one handling all the clicky buttons. So again, we're going to open the door, and I'm going to go in, and there's going to be some fun audio by the talking heads in the background. And after a second, this first secondary generator is going to light up, so we're going to click it.
Along the opposite wall, you'll see a series of 5 breaker boxes.
Next, we're going to want to uncover the wiring panel. We're going to click one of the circuit breaker switches, and then we're going to click another one. And now we're ready to activate the generator, which is going to make this other panel here on the left clickable. Once we do that, we're done. A couple of seconds, and then all the ads die. We get flung around like rag dolls, and we're done. That's the encounter. It's worth noting that if you wipe on the next encounter, you'll proceed back as if you were going to do this fight again, but instead of going into that opening station, you'll be teleported into this room, which is where you begin the third encounter. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Pretty easy fight. Hopefully this helps walk through the mechanics. And here's just a clean kill video without me jabbering in the background. So hope this is helpful. Good luck with Dxun. I think it's an amazing operation. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you do as well. Thanks. Bye.
Your objective is the control room. To reach it, you must disable the coils. Make your way to the secondary generator ship. Talk to as you go. Find a backup generator control terminal. Set it to secondary power load test. Next, along the opposite wall, you'll see a series of 5 breaker boxes. Open the 4th box. Now, cut the 3rd wire.
Stop! 3rd from the right!
Any other surprises? Next. Last, go to the shield control console. Shut down the B-pens and hold on to something.
Alert! Power overload. Unknown grid failure. Warning, diagnostic grid reboot.
It's fine. Give it a few seconds. The reboot will fail too.
Alert! Containment breach. B-pens, C-pens. Grid failure. C-pens. Tactical maintenance response required.
Oh, well, you had me worried for a moment there.
Initiating adaptive security protocol. Containment. Overriding grid safety controls. Partial defense functionality restored.
She's continually cycling power to avoid blowing out what's left of the grid. Wow, this is really clever.
Max!
What exactly does that mean?
Sorry. You'll have to take cover while the coils are on, and run when they're not.
Great, stop and go it is. Ground team, head to the lake enclosure and make for the breach in the walkway.